And welcome into another episode of Tiger Territory, part of the Battle Territory Network, a Detroit Tigers podcast. I'm Kieran Steckley. With me, as always, a man who's so high on cloud 9, it's basically cloud 10. Cody Stavenhagen, how you doing?
Hey, doing all right, Kieran. Let's go right into it. Today, I think we want to start by talking about Gleyber Torres. What have we kind of said about Gleyber Torres all year? Like, man, he's been so consistent. He's been so good. He's been a complete rock for this team, for this lineup. And then you look up in his last 19 games, his last 80 plate appearances, he's hitting 173, 225 on base. The walk total slipped only 5 walks in that span to 15 strikeouts. Had a couple mistakes in the field. Had arguably a pretty important base running error in Chicago. What's up with Gleyber Torres? I think that is going to be the topic that we start with today.
Yeah, so as I've said before, I'm familiar with the talking points around Gleyber Torres from his time with the Yankees, and the way that I've always thought of Gleyber was that when things are right, things are really fun. It's like it's the classic, like, if you like this person, if you like this job, you overlook kind of the warts of it, but the moment like things are a little bit lesser, like those warts become like huge, and it's all you can talk about. And that's kind of what's going on. Like, it's not a coincidence that the Tigers, even though like they are, they ride the ship a little bit, like during this down stretch from what they were, like Gleyber's play has gone down, so that should tell you his value. And then B, like all these like little things that were, all right, well, he doesn't run that well, and he's not that consistent in the field. It becomes, how did he not beat out that double play? Like seriously, what was that at second base? The tone changes like that with Gleyber. And sometimes I think, like, at this point, Gleyber is who Gleyber is. There's a reason you got him on a 1-year deal, blah, blah, blah. We've been over all of this. But I still, we could pull up this graphic right now, Cody. I hope you guys are watching on YouTube. I'm a big fan of the macro. And then when you look at his Baseball Savant page, it's a lot of red there, Cody. It's a lot of red. It's a lot of, hey, expected batting average, expected slugging, walk percentage, K percentage, chase. It's like square up. It's like, all right, well, it seems like he's still doing okay. He's still doing okay. If you look at his game logs on Baseball Reference, you can kind of see the numbers dwindling as he's been on this bad stretch that you just referenced. But the thing is, Gleyber is still one of the more valuable and one of the more consistent players on this team. And we kind of bring this up a lot recently, just for whatever reason. He's one of the guys that is a stable presence on the team and in the lineup, and with injuries that have been experienced this year, and then just kind of like the chaotic situation with the pitching department in general, there's a lot of good of having Gleyber Torres presence in the lineup, in the clubhouse, and on the field. So like I do get the complaints about Gleyber, but I also think, hot take, like the good has certainly outweighed the bad in his experience with the Tigers. This is not someone you want to run out of town right now.
No, I think it will be okay. I would chalk this up to he was kind of due for a slump. I mean, he has come out of his approach a little bit, but man, his OPS the first 3 months of the season, 745, 842, 860. Even the first half plus of July, he was really good. He finished that month at 707. And then so far in August, 591. He was going to go through something like this, and it's about time to snap out of it. I think that's fair. I think you're right. The other stuff, it just feels magnified when he's not playing as well, when he's not producing offensively. This has always been part of his game. It hasn't been as glaring in his time with the Tigers, largely because he's been such a positive presence. Look, the season gets long, some guys get worn down, but Gleyber's a veteran. He's been through this before. I would not be surprised if he snaps out of this spell pretty quickly.
Yeah, and one of the, I don't know why it like sticks out in my mind, but one of the one of the Gleyber Torres things I think of was a quote that he had when the skid really started for the Tigers. And that was like, look, we don't want to be playing our best baseball in June. We don't want to be playing our best baseball in July. We want to be playing September, October, blah, blah, blah. And the thing about Gleyber, part of the value of Gleyber, is he can say that having been through it, like you said. Like Riley Green can say it, and it's like, all right, dude, you're 24. Like you just got here. Like Torque can say it. Like everybody is eligible to say it, but like Gleyber's been through the rigors of postseason baseball and like expectations and ups and downs. And the fact that he said it, I was like, okay, like they have like the right guys in the clubhouse to kind of ride the ship. Which again, we are seeing, as much as things look dire at times. Like the Tigers are still at or near the top of the American League. They're certainly not the Dodgers right now. They're certainly not the Yankees right now. And if you look around the like Major League Baseball, they're in pretty good shape, all things considered. The Astros just had another arm injury. You know what I mean? So like he's a perfect metaphorical and literal stabilizing presence. And that is why he is this week's chart topper of the week, presented by DraftKings. Because sometimes the chart topping doesn't necessarily mean you're playing 100% well. It could be just the subject matter. And the subject matter of Gleyber Torres has been high end. And we also have a pick related to Gleyber Torres on Friday. And that is for him to get out of this slump, Cody. I have Gleyber Torres to collect 2 hits on Friday. And I thought about like a variety of things that I like this seems like a good time for him to get out of the slump. He only has 1 multi-hit game this month. That seems like something that will correct itself. And projected starter Jose Urena, old friend, seems like the type of pitcher that Gleyber can attack. He throws the sinking fastball 34% of the time. What if I told you that Gleyber Torres is a 301 hitter and a 548 slug on sinking fastballs this year? By the way, that's below expected on both. So like a little bit of bad luck there for Gleyber there too. And like, so total bases would have been in consideration. You could have done the Hail Mary home run pick, but I thought the nice, safe, get himself back on the board metaphorically. Gleyber Torres, 2+ hits. That's plus 200 on DraftKings Sportsbook. You can use code FOUL, bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. So that's my pick, Cody. Gleyber Torres, 2+ hits, plus 200.
Hey, that's some good stuff, Kieran. Like I said, this slump, it's not going to go on forever. I like the information you just provided.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, coming back here, a little bit of a programming note. We are recording this before the Thursday night game, the Skubal start, because we wanted to do a weekend recap, and it's a 4-game series. So, and I thought it would be kind of nice to kind of take stock with a stock report on the Tigers team as we are into the middle of August now, as the clock and the calendar continues to turn. So, we're just going to kind of rapid fire this, Cody, and just kind of get our thoughts on each player, some majors, some injured, some minor league guys. Like we'll get as many as we can. And I wanted to start with Dylan Dingler, who, by the way, is a 2.6 WAR player right now. Wow. 2.6 WAR, second only to McKinstry among position players on the team. Dylan Dingler, stock up, stock down.
I think this guy's stock is up, Kieran. He's continued to hit the ball pretty well. When the Tigers were really slumping, he was one guy producing. It's becoming easy to forget that this is his first full major league season, and he's a catcher with a 272 average. He's got 11 homers. Look at how he grades out, plus thrower, plus blocker, plus framer. about as good of a year as you could realistically ask for Dylan Dingler. His future is starting to look really bright, like he's going to be the man behind the plate for a while.
Yeah, I believe he's on a 5 or 6 game hit streak. Obviously has the biggest indication of anything is he had like the trust of AJ Hinch, the trust of Chris Fetter, and the trust of Tarik Skubal. That's a trifecta that is well earned. You don't just kind of walk in and get that. And he earned it like pretty much right away. As soon as Jake Rogers went down, it became pretty clear this was his gig now. So I want to give him a ton of credit there. And we'll stick with the numerical system ascending. Spencer Torkelson, we talked about him on our last podcast. Similar to Dingler, a guy who's been really consistent even when the team wasn't that well. I think stock up, down. I think I'm gonna hold on Spencer Torkelson in the sense that he's kind of been, other than a dip in June, kind of the same guy as we talked about. So like, it's not up, it's not down. He's been pretty stable the entire calendar year, really.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's up. I guess it depends what we're comparing it to, but just the fact that he has stayed so steady, that he's come out of some of his mini dry spells, like that's a vote of confidence. Just maintaining this high level of performance means he's still trending up because this has not leveled off. He's still hitting the ball well. He's entering some uncharted territory in terms of Tigers with 230 home run seasons in a span of 3 years. Don't stock up for Spencer Torkelson.
All right. And Gleyber, I mean, we just talked about Gleyber, but we don't want to skip him here. Like, I'm going to say it's definitely a stock down. That's the whole point of what we just talked about. But in terms of my like if you're selling your Gleyber stock, like I'll call my agent and have purchase your shares, because I'm going, like, eventually this will correct itself. That's my opinion on it.
I think we've talked about this before. It's still fascinating to think, like, what is he going to get in free agency? He came here wanting to get $100 million contract. I just have a hard time seeing that. I'm thinking like 360 makes more sense. I don't know that the Tigers would want to re-sign him based on, you got McGonigal coming, you got some other guys you think really highly of, but I don't know. Maybe you don't rule it out, because I'm not sure he's going to get the highest version of what he wants. And if the stock dips in free agency a little bit, hey, it wouldn't hurt to stay in that room.
I think lessons in free agency the past couple of years, Cody, have kind of taught us that it's hard to anticipate. And I think some guys, literally hold out for their market, what they deem their market value, and it doesn't always manifest itself that way. So I do think it will be an open-minded approach by the Tigers, but probably not going to be his first offer. I think I would phrase it like that. All right, let's go. Good old Javi Baez stock report, Cody. Because he's back to center field, Javi. And he looks as comfortable as ever there right now. He's gone through his slumps, but like oddly, I always feel like he always gets like a base knock whenever I think he's about to go. Like, it's like, all right, here comes the nosedive for Javi, and then he gets a base knock. We just saw it this week. He fouled the ball off his leg, and it's like, this could get ugly. No, base knock. Like he's oddly done that a lot this year, I feel like. Yeah,
he has. It's the beauty of Javi Baez. I was prepared to be like, man, the stock's way down. Like, since July 3rd, he's hitting 215. 2 homers in that span. He's largely been back to a pretty bad offensive version of Javi. And it's like, well, I don't know. If you narrow that to just this month in August, he's hitting 278. He's got a 722 OPS. He's back in center field, and that's proven hugely valuable with Matt Vierling back on the IL. Just the sheer fact Javi still has a 713 OPS. I mean, that's not great, but that is wildly better than anyone would have expected this year. I think I'm still going to go stock down just because the high upside version of Javi we saw at the plate hasn't actually been there in a while. This is kind of a tough one. I could just as easily talk myself into like, well, he's been playing a little better the past few games. Maybe the stock's up. I'm going to go stock down just in kind of the big picture. He really has kind of reverted to a more realistic version of himself, but still kind of an important contributor for this team.
I'm a big fan of guys. This is like a general statement. I'm a big fan of guys that like even when the high end upside is not like manifesting itself, there's still a baseline of impact that you know is there. And we could not necessarily have said that about him the past 2 seasons. Definitely is the case this year with his defense and defensive versatility.
He has not walked since June 24th. He has 9 walks all season.
I'm almost impressed. That's
to maintain a 722 OPS with 9 walks when you're Javi Baez. That's pretty phenomenal.
All right, next up, fellow All-Star Zach McKinstry.
Ooh.
And I will preface this by saying that McKinstry in the month of July only hit 216. That was after a 321 June. Now, in fairness, he hit 200 in May. Not off to the best of starts in August.
No. I'm going stock down. It just always seemed like McKinstry was playing kind of out of his mind, man. And it was cool to see and it was fun. But you look, last 75 plate appearances, a 162 average, a 549 OPS. That's closer to the guy he's been for the bulk of his Tigers career. He's had a couple really big months. He was great really for the entire first half this year, or at least, especially there in June. It's been a pretty hard correction right now. I think you gotta say the stock is down as a result of that.
Yeah. I mean, the production and then just the overall like usage rate. That was the word I was looking for. Usage rate is definitely, I feel like, contributed to that. And honestly, right now it'd be brilliant if he could play like high-end shortstop, given everything else that's going on. But we know, like, even though he's capable, that's not really in the cards there. Riley Green, man, we're going through a lot of all-stars. Riley Green, stock up, stock down, hold. What do you think?
Oh man. All right, we're picking our own sample sizes here on this one. Clearly, I'm going stock up on Riley Green because he was awful for pretty much all of July. He was playing really poorly, and I think he's coming out of it. He's been stinging the ball a little bit lately. 5 hits in his last 16 plate appearances, or his last 16 at bats, 18 plate appearances. He's only struck out 3 times. He's walked twice in that span. Saw a homer, saw some big exit velocities. It's still in there. I think the upswing is coming back for Riley Green after his stock obviously being down there for an extended period.
Yeah, I agree. You'd like to see that WAR number start to tick up a little bit to kind of match like how you feel even when he's at his best. But yeah, I would agree with that. Good old Wenzel Perez, a guy that I'm surprised hasn't gotten a little bit more run. This probably credit to Javi, but hasn't gotten as much run in center field as I would have anticipated post Vierling injury. But Wenzel Perez, stock report.
Wenzel, man, I'm going. Is this a stock up? Is this a hold? I'm a little unsure. One of those things where he's, you know what, stock up. It's Wenzel. He's always just quietly like playing really well. He's actually hitting 344 in August, which I would not have guessed. The couple home runs he's had certainly come to mind, but I wouldn't have guessed he has 1,000 OPS so far in August. Guess what? He does. With Vierling out, again, that makes this all the more important. Stock up.
Yeah, and as I've said before about Wenzel, he is one of those guys that can kind of provide the juice, and we've seen it a couple times. Yeah. So I would agree with there. He's become quite valuable, and also kind of in a good way, he's kind of made Matt and Parker look bad because he came back. Injuries are the same, but he came back from injury and he has continued to ascend as a player, or at least produce at a level that is expected of him.
He did have a little more of a spring training where the other guys didn't, even though he did miss an extended time, after that. So maybe that's something, maybe that's nothing. I don't know. It's interesting.
It's up to your own interpretation, as they say. How about Colt Keith?
Colt Keith, I think he's become like maybe the player the fan base is most split on. Despite like he's having a really good year. He has a 111 OPS plus. He has a 344 on base percentage. You'd like to see him maybe start growing into his power a little more, but guess what? He just turned 24 today. So we got a long way to go in the Colt Keith experience. He's been a pretty solid contributor at the plate. As a result of that, I don't know. I'm tempted to go hold, but then it's like, wait, the splits again. He has 1,000 OPS in August. He's been carrying this lineup a little bit. I'm going stock up for Colt Keith having a better year than a lot of people are willing to give him credit for.
I would also agree on stock up. If nothing else, than the fact that it looks like he can play capable, or at least get to being a capable third baseman.
I think that's a game changer maybe for this franchise.
I agree. I think that's huge. Like,
sorry for those who want to relive the Alex Bregman saga. You don't need Alex Bregman if Colt Keith can play third base at a serviceable level. And I don't think he's ever going to be a plus defender over there, but kind of like he showed at second last year, like he's better than you might think, and he's capable of still getting better. Right now he grades out even 0 defensive runs saved, even 0 outs above average in 135 innings, a small sample, but it's not like he's like -6 or something over there right now.
What about another lefty, Kerry Carpenter? And if it matters, he does now have a fast food endorsement deal. So
actually going with Kerry Bonds in the endorsement is such a bold choice. I kind of love it. I'm going stock up. Look, we know he needs to walk more. It's kind of ridiculous how little he has walked this season. But since his return from the injured list, the Tigers have been playing a much better brand of baseball. He's continued to hit the ball really well. Again, 1,000 OPS in August. How could you not go stock up? It's fair to question the approach, and he's getting a little chase heavy at times. He's only walked twice since June 23rd, which is wild. Or excuse me, it's May 23rd because he had an IL stint. That's wild. You know, for him to continue having success, that's going to have to change a little bit. But he's maintained an 865 OPS in that span with only 2 walks. Let's not critique it too much. This guy's a fulcrum of your lineup.
Yeah. And might be, let's see, MIP, most impactful player. Yeah. Like he's on that list for sure. Andy Ibanez. I don't know if we're giving enough credit to him kind of coming back in like from this Toledo stint and kind of being the Andy Ibanez of old.
You know, like the stock's way up. I mean, I don't know if the stock's ever going to go through the roof, but this stock was kind of in the cellar. Looked like maybe it was going out of business, and now it's back. Hits in 4 straight. Hits in, 7 of 11 games, I believe, since returning to the team. Yeah, he's been the Andy, you know, that the Tigers know and love.
What about Jahmai Jones?
We've seen a little more of him in the field, which has answered my question of why is Jahmai not playing in the field more? It's because it hasn't necessarily been pretty at the plate. He hasn't been a huge contributor. It looks like, yeah, it's actually worse than I thought as I look up the numbers, just going back to even July 25th. He's in a 4 for 24 spell. I'm going to say stock is down. I don't know that I wonder what that means. Would the Tigers make a move to replace him with a How You Lee type thing? Are you actually getting better there? I think is the big question. That's why I think they probably just wait until September, call up another bat. Jahmai still has had an impactful year for the Tigers, 769 OPS, and what's a tough role. Not a lot of consistent playing time, a lot of tough late inning at bats. Stock's down, though.
I'm going to answer this one real quickly. I'm going to group these guys together. J-Hen, Parker, and Jace. You just have to go, like, given like what expectations were and what could be coming into this year, it's a stock down. And like we love Parker, friend of the podcast. Jay Henn is a guy that we've been, we love the profile for a long time. And then Jace is somebody that you just thought at least, again, that baseline thing that I talked about earlier would be there, and it just hasn't been. So, I mean, it's hard. There's not really much of an argument for these guys who probably combined for a negative WAR. They gotta be
all things like just big picture. I'm kind of stunned how little Jace Young has played in the major leagues this year. I mean, he wasn't very good when he was up here, and then he had to make some serious swing adjustments. He's still proving he can catch up to velocity, but only 18 games in the majors. I would not at all have guessed that in February.
I think it's almost a whole -1 more for those guys. All right, we are going to get to the pitching staff on this stock report, but first, a word from our sponsors.
Kratz, tell everyone why they need to look into a virtual private network, aka a VPN.
It's kind of like wearing trousers. It keeps everything private and secure whenever you venture out.
That's good. That's really good. And Surfshark creates user-friendly privacy and security solutions to protect your data and your privacy online. It enables you to virtually explore the globe, browse privately by encrypting your internet activity, and block ads and malware that may disrupt your experience. So go to surfshark.com/foul or use the code FOUL at checkout at surfshark.com to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. It's a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee, and the FT fam is hooked up with 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN when you sign up at surfshark.com and use the code FOUL. It is time to take control of your online security. Try Surfshark today.
All right, coming back here with the stock report, we'll go with the 1-1 of the pitching staff, the 1-1 of pitchers in all of baseball. One Tarik Skubal. It's a hard one. It's kind of a hard one.
Yeah, can the stock get any higher? He is coming off a poor outing. There's still a lot of numbers that suggest he has been even better than he was a year ago. What time frame are we judging here? I don't know. I'm just going to say stock up, because this guy's stock has done nothing but rise since the moment he came back from flexor tendon surgery. You want to look at a ridiculous Baseball Savant page, go look at Tarik Skubal's. It is nutty. The degree to which he limits walks and strikes out batters is still almost unprecedented in baseball history. I'm saying this guy's stock is up. We'll see what he does against the Twins. We're recording it before this outing, but he's not guaranteed to win the Cy Young. Might be a close vote. Some interesting contenders: Hunter Brown, Nathan Eovaldi, among them Garrett Crochet. But I think he's the favorite right now.
Yeah, I'm going to say hold, just because he's been a 9.8 out of 10 for like 2 years now. So again, there's not much to go up, but your overall point is correct. Favorite talking point of this podcast, Jack Flaherty.
It's a tough one. The stock's down. I'll just go bigger picture here. I mean, he had a run of good outings there for a minute until a bad one in Chicago, but a 4.76 ERA. Kieran, when the Tigers signed Jack Flaherty, I'm not sure I would have banked on him being the guy he was for them last year, but I would have thought the floor was higher. You know, I wouldn't have seen him anyway, which he would have had an ERA much above 4. It's been 4.76. It's been a ton of inconsistency. Still striking out a lot of guys, but he's just getting hit around. The stock's down. This is a guy that's supposed to be your number 2, and he hasn't pitched up to that level with any degree of consistency this season.
The way I would kind of contextualize it is, from our perspective, we published the Tarik Skubal interview, which we thought would be one of our bigger podcasts. And the same day, basically, Jack Flaherty signed with the Tigers. So we had to do another podcast, and that one overshot the Skubal episode in terms of numbers because everyone was that excited about Jack Flaherty. And then you fast forward to where we are now, it's a little bit different. Casey Mize.
The stock's going to have to be down here. Mize was so good in the first half, showing, got a lot of praise, looking like the version of Casey Mize he was drafted to be. It has not been that way since the All-Star break. His ERA in those 4 outings since the break is 5.40. Not only have the results been a lot worse, the stuff, just the eye test has not been the same. The splitter, it's not really been there anymore. Casey Mize has to have the power swing and miss splitter to be at his best. His most recent outing, he thought throwing the breaking ball was better against that lineup, but this stuff wasn't very good, man. He did okay. He kind of gritted his teeth and got by. Without the best version of his splitter, I don't know what to make of Casey Mize, so the stock's down right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then I kind of wanted to let's stick with the starters here. Charlie Morton. I feel like that's an up. It's an up.
Yeah, two pretty solid outings since he was traded for. Better results than you might have guessed based on his body of work this season. I'll give that a slight up.
And then Troy Melton. I mean, we talked about him on the last. It's hard not to say up there.
Real ones know. I made a lot of money on my Troy Melton stock that I was buying up in like January.
Here's another one, talk about guys that are up and down and variance in bullpens. Brant Herter, after a pretty rough stretch there, in his last 13 plus, almost 14 innings, he hasn't allowed a run, and he's got earned run, I should say, and he's got 14 Ks, only 156 opponent batting average.
Yeah, we're going to have to go up here. This is kind of like the Andy Ibanez. This was pretty close to going out of business there for a while, and he's giving you some pretty solid outings. The command in Chicago still was not great, worried me for a second, and he got out of it. Multi-inning guy, does a lot for this team. It's important to have the version of Brant Herter that is throwing strikes. Last couple weeks, he's been doing that at a much better clip than he was at one point in July.
That sentence right there, it's a lot better to have this version of this guy that's throwing strikes. Also applies to Tyler Holton, who will not be getting any MVP votes this year, and has definitely had an up and down season. It seems like if he's able to pinpoint, the black there on the plate, like he's damn near impossible to get a hold of, but he just hasn't been consistent this year.
Yeah, I think the stock's down here. Another one you have to look at a little more big picture. The cutter has never really been the same. The command, to your point, just seems like he's left a lot more balls middle. The ERA in August right now is 7.11. He did have a better July. Like, we've seen glimpses of the Holton of old, but yeah, not quite the same guy as last year. And overall just hasn't been a great season. He does have a 3.79 ERA, which is not bad. But he's also, I don't think, called upon as much or quite in the same. I don't know. You just don't have the same level of faith when he's entering the game right now. The stock's down.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. Will Vest, another guy who kind of went through it there a little bit.
Vest, yeah.
Sitting here at a 1.5 WAR.
Stock's back up. Wow. That's not easy to do in relief. Back to getting some ninth inning reps, even with Kyle Finnegan in this bullpen. I like to see Will Vest throwing strikes. I like to see Will Vest healthy and pumping gas. Last few outings, he's been doing that. Overall, he's having a nice season, with the exception of a couple real blow-ups that maybe have blemished things a little bit, but 1.45 WAR out of the pin, you'll take that.
Kyle Finnegan, so you just mentioned him. He's also been the best example of what the front office tried to do with the deadline, which was identify a couple characteristics and go and get players that fit that they think they can mold into being a more effective asset. And he is really your de facto closer right now. So stock report on Finnegan.
Yeah, it's the stock's up. He's throwing the splitter a little bit more since he's been with the Tigers. He's had success with it. This was always a good trade acquisition. For as much as the deadline was pinned, it was kind of because, like, well, all right, they got Finnegan. He doesn't really miss bats. And then these other guys, like, you don't feel great about any of them. Again, I wonder if the order were different. If Finnegan would have been the first guy they traded for, I think the response would have been more positive, and maybe the whole deadline would have been viewed at least a little bit better. Now, I think, wouldn't it be awesome if they had Finnegan and Ryan Helsley, or insert another power leverage reliever who actually misses bats? Then you'd be like, oh, we got a legit pin. But we're just talking about Kyle Finnegan here. He's been great. Is not allowed to run yet since becoming a Tiger. Stocks up.
Yeah, which brings us to the public perception of one Scott Harris, which I would just say because of all those things you laid out there, I would say that in this season cycle, so I'm including like the acquisitions in winter time, this is probably about as low as the Scott Harris public opinion poll would be, because of the lack of, and by the way, not just fans, like people were criticizing the Tiger, like commentators like Carl Ravitch were on ESPN were criticizing the Tigers for not being more aggressive at the trade deadline. And obviously that falls on him. He would say that I know better than you or I and all that stuff. And he probably is correct there. But perception wise, his stock is definitely down.
It's kind of a wild juxtaposition. The Tigers are in first place. They have their best team in more than a decade. They have a top farm system. They have two of the top prospects in all of baseball. And somehow Scott Harris's public perception is probably at the lowest point it's been in 3+ years as the president of baseball operations. That speaks to some big misses. That speaks to, for whatever reason, he's never quite connected on a personal level with fans, whatever it may be. I don't know. It's really interesting because big picture, he's done a great job. Probably has supreme job security. Stock's been up if you look at like a 3-year rolling stock report, but the last month or so, the deadline was underwhelming. And then you look at a lot of the moves made at the major league level this season haven't really worked out. The pitching track record as a whole, not as good as we were talking about it in February. So yeah, the stock's down. Sometimes I wonder, like, is that actually fair? And it's like, well, you've done a lot of good things, built a really good infrastructure. Like I always say, that creates expectations, and expectations are what gets you in trouble. That's kind of where we're at with Scott Harris right now.
Yeah, well, that farm system, I don't know if anybody's noticed, Kevin McGonigal and Max Clark kind of coming into their own a little bit. And McGonigal is 3 or 4 days away from turning 21 years old. And he's got people clamoring. I think that's a good way to put it, clamoring for him to get called up when ruined service.
We got to get off Twitter. I don't think Kevin McGonigal's coming to the major leagues. Come on.
But it is fun, and he's definitely a stock up. I mean, someone showed me a card, like, don't follow Tigers, don't follow prospects. It was a signed, one of those Bowman Chromes, that you could probably find on Arena Club. And he was like, who is this? And I was like, probably the best hitting prospect in baseball. And I was looking at, showing some numbers. I was like, I would hang on to this if I were you.
There's not much probably about it, man. The kid can hit.
Last one, a couple names here. What about Sawyer Gibson-Long? It's a tough one with his injuries.
Yeah, just going to have to hold here because he's been hurt, came off the IL, had a great outing, then got optioned because the Tigers won another lefty against the Twins. So, like, not really enough of a sample to draw much of a conclusion. I guess if you want to go bigger picture, the stocks may be a little down because there were some pretty high hopes for Sawyer once he got healthy this year. It just hasn't been that smooth.
All right, last one. The Tigers. Just the Tigers.
Now, that's the hardest one. That's even harder than the Scott Harris one because it's like the stock should be through the roof, and yet it feels kind of down because they set really high expectations for themselves by having an incredible May and June. So I don't know what the answer. Yeah. And even in the past week or so, hasn't always been pretty, but the stock's ticking back up. So there's some up and downs in this one.
Yeah, for sure. And, long season, tough sport. And as we say all the time. So that's our stock report for the Tigers. I thought that was actually a really fun discussion because, again, because part of it is just like, how long do you do the sample size to like how you feel about a guy, whether he's trending up, trending down, and and all that stuff. And you can kind of do it in whatever fashion you want. And that's what made this really fun. So I was glad we did that. Anything else, Cody, before we jet out?
No, I think that's it for now.
All right. Well, be sure, everybody, to follow us on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Apple and Spotify and wherever you listen to your podcast. And go to tigerterritoryshop.com where you can get one of these, a
There you
Tiger
go.
Territory t-shirt. And there's hats, there's mugs, there's backpacks. I mean, you can rep Tiger Territory in a variety of fashions. And we appreciate everybody for the liking, subscribing, leaving us 5-star reviews, all that stuff. We couldn't do this without you. So thank you very much once again. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day.